Okay, good evening all. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. Quick show of hands, thumbs up. That's brilliant. Thank you very much. That's great. Okay, we'll get started. Look, thank you very much for attending one of our first ever actually parents question answer evenings for our residentials. This is something new that we're doing for 2026, designed to basically give you guys more of a heads up as to what to expect. So for those who have already signed up, but also for those who are considering signing up from here on in, and to give you a bit more of a heads up about what it is we do. So the format of tonight is I will go through a short presentation with you, which should be on the screen now. And from here, maybe about 10 minutes of your time, we will then take any questions at the end of it. So I'm hoping that I will cover some of the questions that have been already sent in or already asked in the past few weeks / months from you guys as parents. But at the end, this will be open to you to be able to ask questions. So what I'd encourage you to do throughout the presentation, for say about 10 to 12 minutes, is just to put any questions you've got in the chat box. You'll see the chat box feature on the Google Meet as an option. If you go into that and type your question, what I will then do at the end of the short presentation of slides is just address any questions individually, so that everybody leaves here absolutely happy with what it is that they want to go through. So if everyone can hear me and we're okay to go, we'll get started. Thanks once again for joining us. So let's crack on. Okay, so as I say, tonight, ideally, just to give you a bit of a heads up and a background as to what underpins our residentials. So we've been going about 7 years now with the residential program. Our real underpinning values as a coaching company, and certainly me as a coach, is a modern coaching approach with traditional values. And I think that sort of summarizes where we are at as a cricket coaching provider. We are very traditional in many ways, and with the way we like the game to be played, the values we have, but ultimately we are with the modern times, and there is a certain way the game is now coached. And for the youngsters that are coming through, that's really important that we adhere to some of the modern ways of the modern game. So with that, the crux of all our residentials is how can we produce more smarter, independent thinking cricketers? And those who've been before know that we call this ITCs, independent thinking cricketers. That is our residential in a nutshell. If that sounds like, as a parent, great, that's the sort of thing we're hoping from. That is what underpins everything. And then from there is how we then deliver the different strands of the residential. Elite coaches, elite environment, with transformational experiences, and hopefully, like I put there, the residential is a combination of these quick wins, so there'll be lots of new information and things that players can implement straight away, but also this idea that we plant seeds for the longer term growth, and we're never too sure when they will come to fruition. But you know, we take a lot of pleasure and pride in planting them seeds, getting players to think slightly differently, think more smarter, and hopefully, whether it's 2, 3, 4 years down the line, they see the benefits of that. So the residential itself was built on really one belief of that all young players, that are promising young players, have a chance to experience an elite environment. So the team that we've put together for the residentials, from the specialist coaches, nutritionists, psych support, everything we do on the residential is about giving guys and girls access to a support network of staff that they otherwise wouldn't have, unless, when I say wouldn't have, unless you are already on a county academy. And even then, unless you're at a Surrey or an equivalent county of that, you're unlikely to have that kind of support as a 13, 14-year-old anyway. You might have an introduction to it, but you're not going to have the specialism necessarily that we know we can give the guys. For myself, the residential is about creating an environment, and it's an environment where players are encouraged to be independent, they're encouraged to ask questions, and they're also encouraged to make mistakes. I often joke with the players and say, look, we're not at school, and we're not. So there is an extent of players being able to get things wrong, but equally in a safe environment where we encourage them to reflect on it. I mean, it's not so left field that we encourage things to go wrong, but if and when inevitably things do, and that's part of challenging players at a level that pushes them but doesn't break them, we're able then to support them through that in a way that can build them back up and help them to, rebuild that confidence, or maybe approach something slightly differently next time they do it. Attached to that is that reflection process, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a moment. The sort of standards we underpin on our residentials, I've just put them on the screen there for you to see. I don't need to sort of read them out, but that gives you a flavour of the sorts of questions and challenges we ask of the players throughout the course. I say they are pretty self-explanatory, so I'll just let you read through them for a second. Okay, so as I say, well, why do we do these residentials? Ultimately, this high performance environment, we want players to, I joke with a lot of the youngsters now that it's not cool to be the person who tries really hard, and that's what they tell me, these youngsters, and I can't get my head around that, having grown up in performance and elite environments. And maybe it's a product of the youngsters now with sort of the YouTube generation, I'm not sure, but from my perspective, we want it to be celebrated that if a player works hard and they do the right things and they have the right habits and they prepare properly and they turn up and they're punctual and they've got a good way about them and they're well mannered, they're all huge things that I think that we need to celebrate now with youngsters in general, but also young cricketers. The two go hand in hand. I think it's very difficult now or has always been, to be an elite cricketer without having elite behaviours and elite mannerisms and the way you go about things. So that's something that we're quite big on as well during our residentials. I guess what makes us different is that we don't have the red tape at TFCC, so we can put together our coaching team with a budget that I can decide, with coaches that I can bring in, and ultimately it works because we have access to a pool of coaches who otherwise these players wouldn't be getting towards, whether that's ex-professionals, international cricketers, a lot of heads of cricket at schools that would walk into jobs at county academies and pathways but just don't have the time because they're a cricket professional at a school. So in their holiday time, we have them on board as part of what we call our elite residential coaching team, which is made up of all different coaches from all backgrounds. We've got female coaches, male coaches, we've got coaches who have worked in professional cricket, coaches who work in school cricket, university cricket, and it's nice that I feel all bases are covered for a player up to the age of 18. We've rarely got a coach who hasn't been through some sort of shared experience, either as a coach, an environment that the player wants to go into, or as a player themselves. And I think that's a really nice mix and balance that we can offer the players when they come to us at the elite residentials. So parents, I think what you can expect, I'd like to think we get a lot of this right, but we always try and strive to be better and improve it. So communication before, I try and have a phone call with pretty much everyone who applies. If it's somebody's come through the recommendation of another person, they're in the same team at the same school, sometimes that will suffice for me. But I do like to make sure that a standard and expectations are aligned as to what it is that we're looking for in the type of player that we want on the residential, but also to make sure that you know what the residentials are about and what you're getting. And that's really important for me, just to have that initial conversation. So if anyone would like to, that I've not yet spoken to, and I've spoken to most people, I believe, that have signed up, but I'm always happy to just sort of put 5, 10, 15 minutes aside to have them conversations. We talk to players about their golden nuggets and what their main takeaways are from the residentials, and they could happen at any time. It could happen over a chat of an evening with a coach, with a member of staff on duty. It could happen at breakfast. It could happen at any time, and we encourage the players to be soaking all that information up all the while, asking questions and getting around the support staff as well. I think each day will have an absolute clear plan for you as a player, for the players, sorry. and by the end of the course, whilst we may do things in a slightly different order and maybe move things around, there's always an element of fleas, and managing those is on our website, and that gives you sort of a 5-day overview as the types of things you can expect from our residentials. So hopefully that's useful and you managed to have a look on there. If not, please, after this call, do take the time. As I said, there's 5 posters on the residential itinerary, and it just gives you a flavour of what we do. Players, as I said, for me, I want to make smarter cricketers across all facets of the game. Big things we look at is the understanding of the game, not just what happens, but why it happens. So we look a lot of the why, the mindset, decision making, all of the things that I believe are not coached. We're very good at coaching the doing, but not always what underpins that doing. And therefore, if you don't understand the why, you can't always reflect on what's going wrong, why it's going wrong, etc. So part of the learning process for us as coaches is huge with that, and the players will also. That's a bit independence away from home. Again, we're very big on boys and girls throwing themselves into the course. I always say, if you don't hear from them a lot, don't worry. That's always a good sign. Equally, we encourage parents to allow their children to go and immerse themselves and experience the environment. And 3-4 calls a day is not what I would recommend. Everyone has their own way of parenting, but we're very big on, it's not as I said to a parent last summer, it's not a school trip with a WhatsApp group where I'll put a message in saying they're all sitting down for dinner now and eating well. It's not. We are not down that route, and I don't believe that's what the youngsters and players need in the current climate and the modern game, especially if they're going to go away and tour and play county age group or school tours, etc. Finally, friendships and memories and a stronger sense of what they can become. I've had boys and girls who've gone off to universities together, gone off and played representative cricket together on these courses, and they'll meet up, and it's fantastic for us to see. We do get a high percentage of returners on our courses, so I'd say 35% of youngsters do tend to come back. I think that's between 35 and 40%. The feedback we've had in the past is along the lines of what I've put down there: the challenging and supportive environment, the fact that they are high standards that we do drive, but the environment's inclusive for all. And the big one there for me is leaving better cricketers, but also as better people. And there is a special feel about the residentials. I can't quite put my finger on it because they are so unique. And when a parent asks me, what's it about, what does it do, we've tried to capture it over the years on the promotional video, on the Q&As, on the calls I have with parents, but until they come and experience one of the youngsters, it's really hard to put that into always capture it well. So there is a certain unique feel about the residentials that, as I say, a fair amount do tend to come back to us. So, as I said, that was about 15 minutes. That's 3 minutes longer than I wanted to be, but that's pretty good going for myself. So, for our parents' Q&A, what I'm now going to do is on a touch screen: welfare, coaching, homesickness, phones, accommodation, standards, logistics. I want everyone to leave the conversation today feeling confident and confident and excited for the experience. We've also got a list of the 20 most common questions on our website, FAQs, of which some of you I think have already looked on there, and that will give you a heads up as well. So hopefully that's a bit of an overview as to what the residentials you can expect, the different areas of the residential and what underpins it for myself. Great. Okay, so I think so far I've had a question from, I'll take your question first. Would you recommend wearing the branded uniform? Sorry. Hi, could you, is that you?
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries at all. Just got your question here. Would I recommend wearing the branded uniform? We offer residential kit beforehand that you can purchase. You do get residential t-shirts. Everyone gets that as part of the residential. That's a standard issue performance t-shirt, short sleeve t-shirt. That is, there are a number of bundles that can be ordered for residentials. I believe the cut-off date is the 1st of July for the summer residentials. So you'll have up until the 1st of July to order any kit additional bundles that you would like for that. However, if you'd rather not to, that's absolutely fine. It's not a problem at all. So it's entirely up to you, that whatever you feel comfortable with. Not everybody will have the bundles though. Please do rest assured it will not be. I presume it's your son that's there. Is that right? Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so you will not be left out or anything like that. So please don't worry. Perfect. Great stuff. Thanks for that. Jumped on the call a little late. Our kids allowed their phones. Yep, absolutely. As I said, it's not we're not a school environment in the sense that the boys and girls are allowed their phones. We obviously ask them not to have them on deck, which is what we obviously call on the field whilst we're training, and by that I mean you know, in and around that environment as well. So some of the players will record their course notes on their phone. So I'm very much, you know, that's the modern way of doing things. The guys will take notes on their phone. I prefer to write things down. I guess probably my age, nearer 40. However, I understand the guys will have their own ways of doing it. So we just say if they have their phones around the team room, that's where they'll be basing themselves for the week, that they keep the phone on flight mode, and therefore they're not sort of disturbing others and resisting temptations, let's say. So they're pretty good with that. Once we set the standards, I think you'd find that they tend to self-manage well and respond to that pretty well. Hopefully that answers that for you, and that's useful. Evening guys, welcome. What happened in case of an injury? Yep. So obviously first and foremost we have the consent form, which will be sent to you guys I think 6 weeks before is when the consent forms come out. We've got obviously course joining instructions that will come out 6 weeks before your start date. We've had a couple of incidents in the past where we've had a player, for example, go to hospital for a twisted ankle in the end. So usual protocol, follow the your standard first aid procedure, of which all my coaches are first aid qualified, and then there'd be informed parents. Obviously, if you need to get an ambulance, that's a different level of injury. If we're talking a manageable injury that could say be dealt with there and then, we will do. I guess next stage from that is sort of a walk-in clinic injury. We would then supervise and take them to a local walk-in centre, as we've had to do in the past, and obviously keep you as parents informed with documenting what, if any, treatment's been administered, and then from there obviously liaise with you if it's something that they can manage through the course with, or if you prefer to come and collect them also, that's absolutely fine as well. So we've had a number of injuries. It goes without saying you are going to get injured occasionally. I'd like to think that the things are in place for that, the way we handle them. So hopefully that covers that for you guys there. With yeah, no worries at all. That's, as I say, I think it's probably worth pointing out there, that kind of leads on to a wider conversation, that I was in my first job as a school cricket pro. I also spent 5 years in boarding schools as well as part of that job. So the pastoral background that I have within that, and my team, therefore the training they've got, and a lot of the staff we tend to get in overnight, for example, are staff that have spent time in that environment as well, so it's not uncommon for them. Packing list requirements, yeah, that'll all be sent out for you with your joining email. There's a kit list that goes out, and it's comprehensive to say the least. So yeah, everything you will need will be there. Where there's an interesting one, at all of our course venues, we do book a backup of an indoor cricket facilities. So we do have at all of our venues, that's a basic stipulation when I book the venues, is that we must have access to indoor facilities. Touch wood, we've only ever had one Easter day where we've had to go inside. Over the years, we have never yet had a full day in the summer where we've had to go inside and we can't be outside. So we've been lucky, I guess, in that sense, but inevitably you need to make sure that you've got a backup plan in place. So yeah, we do have that. So absolutely, great question, and thanks for that one. So yeah, we've just put the link as well for the residential bundles in the chat, so that can be accessed by anybody. And a little bit further up the chat as well, if you scroll back, is the link to the frequently asked questions as well that you'll be able to see. So as I say, they have probably the most common questions that we tend to get asked on the residentials. Are there any more questions at the moment that anyone would like to ask? Unless we've covered everything, or if some prefer to come off mic and ask the question, if you prefer that to do that, then type. I'm happy to take a question like that. That's not a problem at all. Please do take this opportunity to ask anything that you might want to find out. Sparked a further question or a bit of a secondary question that you may have. So yeah, so just to give you a rundown from what would happen is, after booking, you will get obviously your an initial email to say that your booking's gone through. That is your proof of receipt. You will then, as I say, 6 weeks out, you will get a joining email that has a kit list, that has a map. There's a PDF that we send as well, which attaches all the directions, postcodes, how to find us, etc. That all comes across to you. That will be with you then with the consent form as well. If you can get that sent back ASAP, it just means that when we do drop off and arrivals, it makes that process a lot easier, and my admin team much appreciate that, as opposed to having to fill in 20-30 consent forms on arrival, medical forms as well. Medications is probably one thing we've not mentioned that's quite a common topic that's always worth mentioning. Any controlled medications or medications that are self-administered, we do ask, being in a team environment of under 18s, that we administer them as staff. So we ask parents to hand them in at the start. We will then administer them based on whatever the dosage is recommended by you guys, and that's monitored, recorded, and locked away safely throughout the duration of the course. Again, touch wood, that's always worked really well previously, compared to certain environments that I've seen in the past, not that I've worked in, but that I've heard of. Greg, yeah, that's really useful. So Greg's our administrator. You might have recognized Greg's name from emails if you've already booked on with us. If not, you will do. Greg says the current confirmation email that goes out the moment you book will have the consent form already in there. So I think what he's saying there, in between the lines, is if you get it done, then it helps him out and he doesn't need to chase it up. So again, I think that's really important. So any cricketing questions, the initial cricketing questions, when I speak to parents, I kind of take all them and deal with them directly with you guys. Once you've booked on, if the question is pastoral, so I always say something non-cricket related, I ask you to deal with my admin team, which is admin@tomflowerscricketcoaching.com, and anything cricket related is kept to one side, and everything medical, consent, arrival times, picking up, dropping off, logistic, or whatever it might be, is kept on a separate strand. And as much about keeping it clean for us internally to be able to manage our workloads, it actually helps us to make sure nothing gets lost when we're dealing with things like consent forms, medical information, important information like that. It's really important, actually, we do that. So brilliant. Oh, sorry. Can I take yours first? I think you're unmuted.
Yes, sure. Hi. Thank you so much for this. What I did want to check was that after the camp is over, is there an opportunity to kind of get feedback or understand where the child's at, or what we need to work on, what's the future, that kind of, just kind of where to go from here, that kind of a thing?
Yeah, you mean at the end of the course?
Correct. At the end of it, just kind of feedback, how they did, how they got along,
Yep.
what happens next, that kind of.
Yep. Yeah, no worries. So we do sort of two things really on that. We'll have a we have a self-reflections booklet, which all of the players keep a booklet throughout the whole course, where they can get each of their sessions. If they do 3 or 4 a day, they'll get them countersigned, they'll get feedback, and they'll get a chance to write their own reflections. That for me is one of the most powerful ways of doing that, because they're getting that self-feedback in their own words from their specific coaches. If they're seeing 10 different individuals within their specialisms over a week, it's very difficult for us, for one person always, to write one specific report. So I place huge emphasis on the reflections booklets, or whether they do it on their phones, that's up to them. We do at the end of the course, though, and we've introduced this year, we have a 2-sided A4 review form, which is a feedback form basically, which the players will rate themselves with each of the categories, and then on the back of it, so a full side, we will look at some feedback, direct feedback specific to them in the various areas that they've worked in. So there is feedback at the end of the course. Please don't think that's not the case, that we are very much trying our best to promote an independent environment. So some parents will say to me, I need the feedback because my children don't talk to me. That kind of doesn't wash, in the sense that if they're in a county age group side or a performance squad, they're going to need to learn how to form that relationship to feedback if parents are keen to know. So equally, I'm always happy to jump on a call if a parent's sent a youngster with me for the week and wants some more detail. We occasionally get that as well. So I'm more than happy to do that. That's not a problem at all.
Perfect.
Hopefully this should be enough at the end of the course, and obviously it links in nicely because we'll give some longer term goals at the end of the course, and as I say, we do see a lot of the youngsters the following year as well. So we kind of then pick back up on what we've done with them before, which is always nice. And does that kind of answer your question, Raheem? Is that okay?
Absolutely. And the reflections booklet is for the day residentials as well. I think Vanch will be doing the day for the first time around, and so does that booklet work for him as well?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that's the same. That's the same for both. We also say bring a notebook and pen, because whilst we've given an overview, like a basic format of how to reflect, if somebody says to me, look, I'm going to write a lot more than that, or I prefer to lay it out this way, crack on. It's a start point for the boys and girls who perhaps haven't, been introduced to how to reflect and put their thoughts down properly in the past, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. That's really helpful.
No problems at all. Glad to help. Can I come to you? Thank you very much, Comprehensive. My son is currently away, but it would be good to have a one-to-one when he's back, as we haven't had a call yet. No worries. Do you mean? Sorry, I'm trying to just pick that apart a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine. Sorry.
Do you mean
when
you say have a one-to-one?
Well, no, because you were mentioning earlier about having a chat.
A one-to-one call, you mean?
Yeah, one-to-one call, only because he hasn't spoken to you guys, you don't know anything about him, so it was just about actually where you were saying you wanted to get to know some of the lads before they come in, or girls, that actually just having that chat with him. He's currently away on a residential for the Duke of Edinburgh, so he's missing out on this call and the information you've got, so it'd just be interesting for you to get to know him too before he comes.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to do that. It's not something we'd usually sort of advertise or do a lot of. I'm sure you can appreciate, because you speak to mum, you speak to dad, you speak to, so I think we have to manage expectations our end. I'm more than happy to speak with him.
If it's not something you normally do, it isn't a problem at all. He's 17, and it was just about where he was in his cricket, so that's fine.
Yeah, we just encourage in that situation. We encourage the players to come with as much of a plan as possible, with what it is they want to get out of the week, and I think that's where we where it's most successful and manageable is that from the week, what advice they've been given in the past, any reports, materials they've been given, then there's more we can get. And by all means, please send things over as well. We do say that. Equally, they're working with coaches externally away from the residential, which often boys and girls are. If someone wants to introduce me via email to the coach they're working with, or if they want me to have a quick call with a coach after the course and pass on any thoughts, that's something that's very common as well. So absolutely. No, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I meant more, it was more the fact that he's not going to have missed anything relevant today that you're not going to have picked up. Please don't worry, there's no content or anything that I don't want him to feel he's missed out, is what I'm saying.
Oh, right, fair enough. Yeah, no, that's
okay, yeah. No, I don't expect any boys to have been on this or girls. That's not, it was more for parents to get a flavour of things. But absolutely, you know, more than happy to have a chat if he really wants to. So that's no problem at all.
Oh, cool. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. No problem. Thanks a lot. It's been really helpful. That's great. Oh, glad to have helped. No problem at all. Looking forward to meeting you guys as well. Yes, got a couple of minutes. I'm happy to stay on the call and take any final questions from parents who perhaps want to stay on and have a conversation with me. You're more than welcome to do that. We've got 5 minutes or so. But for now, thank you ever so much, everyone, for attending this evening and giving up your time. I'm well aware it's a big commitment to put this sort of time aside of an evening, and not everyone works the strange hours that we tend to. So I hope it was useful. And if anyone does have any questions on the back of this, please do get in touch. We've still got places on our summer residentials, although, as I've said to the parents I have spoke to, they are filling up quickly at the moment. So and that does tend to happen at this time of year. Now it only goes one way. So I hope it was a useful half an hour for everybody. I'll just hang around now. If you would like to stay on, please do, and unmute yourself and ask me a question. If you're happy to depart and leave the residential Q&A, please do as well. But again, if you do need to call or you need to drop me an email, feel free. Thank you, guys.